Hi everybody, I'm Linda Schuyler Ford, storyteller, and I'm here at Goodwood Gardens Museum and Gardens in beautiful Tallahassee in the Grotto. The Grotto is made of all kinds of ancient twisting boxwoods, and there are actually rooms made out of trees here. You'll have to come check it out sometime. Well, here we are, October, and I thought I would share a few scary picture books with you before we launch into our story. The first one, you might recognize this author, Chris Van Allsburg, right? He wrote Polar Express and Jumanji, and he wrote this book, Probudity, which is not a Halloween story, but it's about magic. And I think it's really cool and funny, so give it a try. This is great for older kids. Next, we have The Witch's Child by Arthur Yorings. This is haunting for its illustrations and the story, which is a little bit sad and a little bit gentle. It's one of my favorites. And lastly, I would suggest you check out The Little Old Lady Who Was Not Afraid of Anything by Linda Williams. This has become a classic, and it's really fun to read and tell because there are parts of the story that you all can repeat over and over again throughout the whole story. So there are some books for October or the middle of winter or a hot summer day. And now, how about a story? This one is an old Scottish folk tale, but my grandfather from England told it to me, and you see it in picture books under different names. I just call it The Tailor, the Moonlight, and the Monster. There was a wealthy king. He had everything he could possibly need, except a sense of kindness, maybe. And maybe his selfishness, his mean-spiritedness, was because he was afraid of so many things. He was very superstitious. He believed that black cats are bad luck, silly guy, or that walking under a ladder is bad luck, or that breaking a mirror is bad luck, when the only bad thing about breaking a mirror is you have to spend some money to buy another. Well, one night a gypsy came to town and she read his fortune, and she told him that if he could have a new pair of pants sewn for him under the next full moon up in the old graveyard on the hill, those pants would bring him good luck. Well, immediately the king sent a proclamation throughout the kingdom telling people that he would pay a bag of gold to anyone who would be able to sew him a new pair of pants under the next full moon in the old burying ground on the hill. Now maybe if somebody sews, making a pair of pants seems easy. The hard part is the old graveyard on Burial Hill is haunted. And we know that because people who went up to investigate the strange sounds never returned. Now, there were many foolish people who thought about investigating further, or maybe going up to sew the pants. But the person who actually rose to the challenge was a poor tailor. Now, his work was very good, his skill was excellent, but as he had gotten older, he'd gotten a little bit slower. And the people in the village wanted everything fast and in a hurry, and they went to the younger tailors and seamstresses. And so he cut the fabric, he threaded his needles, he put on his apron and waited for the night of the next full moon. And as the moon rose in the sky, he gathered everything in his apron and went up the hill to the old burying ground. It had not been used for 20, 50, maybe 75 years, and the gate creaked open. It resisted his push. But when he got into the graveyard, he looked and he saw next to a small marble mausoleum there was a bench to sit on. And the moon was now up in the sky, and the light reflected off the marble monuments around him. Some of the gravestones had fallen over, and he made a table out of one of them. He sat on the bench and he began to sew. He sewed and he sewed, and his stitches were straight and even. He sewed and he sewed, and eventually he heard a strange scratching sound and then a rumbling sound, and he looked over as a green head burst up through the ground, and the green head said, "Man, I am nothing but skin and bone. I need to eat some meat, and you look delicious." The tailor kept sewing, and his stitches were still straight and even. And the thing writhed and shook until its shoulder and a long bony arm emerged. And he said, "Tailor, I have but bony arms and a bony face, for I need to eat meat, and you look delicious." The tailor still sewed, and his heart was pounding, but his stitches were straight and even. And now that thing writhed again and pulled another bony shoulder out, and the bones were jagged, pointy, sharp. Why, this was not a corpse, but a monster. The neck was long and ropey, the shoulders jagged like armadillo back and boniness. "Tailor, I am but skin and bone, because I am hungry, I need meat, and you look delicious." The tailor still sewed, and his stitches were still neat and even, though now they were farther apart. And he sewed, and he sewed, and that thing liberated a sharp, bony leg. No knees, just one long, sharp bone that landed in a foot that was huge and had 10 toes, and it said, "Tailor, I am bone, skin and bone, for I have not eaten meat, and you look delicious." The tailor sewed, he sewed so fast. He had never sewn so fast in his life. He sewed fast, and then he bit off the thread and knotted it and gathered everything up. The pants were done, everything in his apron, and he ran. He ran as hard and fast as he could through the graveyard, through the gate, down the hill, and that thing realized he was running and liberated the other leg and gave chase after the tailor, that monster thrashing and scraping at the air in front of him, the tailor running faster and faster and harder and faster until he was out of breath and couldn't swallow, but pounded on the door of the castle. He pounded on the door of the castle, and finally someone opened it just as that thing passed by. They closed the door. The tailor was out of breath and terrified, but he had done it. He had sewn the pants under the full moon in the burying ground, and forthwith they called the king, who came and saw the pants that the tailor had made, and they fit him perfectly. The tailor was given a bag of gold. He bought himself a sweet little house and was able to live there the rest of his days. And the monster was never seen again. There's a version of this in picture book form called The Tailor and the Monster by Paul Galdone. And there's another version called Lucy Dove by Janice Del Negro. You can look for those. But because it's a folk tale, you can listen to what I told you and make it your own and tell it in your own way. My friends, I hope you have a fabulous, although it may be different this year, a fabulous Halloween. And if you want to draw a picture of any of those scenes from the last story of the monster, the moonlight, the tailor, the moonlight, the monster, do that and send them to me at storiesheal, STORIESHEAL @gmail.com. I'll print them and we can maybe show them next time. See you guys, and thank you. Happy reading, happy stories.